Let's be honest about the way most of us deal with old potting soil. You repot a plant in spring with fresh bagged mix from the garden center. For the first few months, the soil is fluffy and drains perfectly. But by the end of the growing season, that same soil has turned into a dense, compacted brick. You water and the liquid just sits on the surface. You lift the pot and it weighs almost nothing because the soil has shrunk away from the edges. You know something is wrong, but you are not sure how to fix it. So you buy another bag of potting mix, dump out the old stuff, and start over. You feel like you are doing the right thing, but every time you throw away that old soil, you are throwing away money and creating waste. I used to do this exact same thing. I would repot my plants every spring with fresh soil, and by fall that soil would be dead and useless. I thought potting soil just wore out naturally, like it had an expiration date. I did not understand that I was the problem. I was treating soil like a disposable product instead of a living system that could be rebuilt. The problem is that bagged potting soil is not soil at all. It is a sterile blend of peat moss, coco coir, and perlite designed to be light and fast draining. When you first open the bag, it is full of air pockets and structure. But after 6 months of watering, root growth, and nutrient cycling, the organic matter breaks down, the peat compresses and the structure collapses. What you are left with is a dense, lifeless slab that repels water and suffocates roots. Because of this, many people try to refresh their soil by mixing in more perlite or adding fertilizer. But perlite just creates drainage without adding nutrition, and fertilizer cannot fix broken soil structure. You are trying to solve a physical problem with a chemical solution, and it does not work. We need to reframe how we think about potting soil. In nature, soil builds itself over time through constant organic input. Leaves fall, insects die, fungi break everything down, and the result is rich, crumbly humus that holds moisture and air at the same time. That humus is what gives forest soil its spongy texture. When we grow plants in pots, we remove them from that natural cycle. The soil never gets new organic matter, so it just compacts and dies. But we can rebuild it. We can create that same forest floor humus at home using the one resource most people throw away every autumn: fallen leaves. The mistake is not repotting your plants. The mistake is thinking you need to buy new soil every time. We have been taught to treat potting mix like a consumable product. But to truly restore soil structure and fertility, we need to add living organic matter. We need to make leaf mold. Leaf mold is not compost. Compost is hot bacterial decomposition driven by nitrogen and turning. Leaf mold is cold fungal decomposition. When leaves rot in damp shade for months, fungi break them down into dark, crumbly humus. This is the secret ingredient in forest soil. Leaf mold acts like a sponge, absorbing water when soil is dry and releasing it slowly as plants need it. It creates air pockets that prevent compaction. It never goes hydrophobic like peat moss. Even when bone dry, it absorbs moisture instantly. You will see videos online about buying bagged leaf mold or worm castings. Those products work, but they are expensive and often low quality. What you do have, if you live anywhere with deciduous trees, is free access to the raw material. Every fall, millions of leaves drop to the ground. Most people rake them up and throw them away. That is insane. You are discarding the one thing that could save your potting soil. But here is the truth. You cannot just stuff whole leaves into a pot and expect them to help. Whole leaves take 2 years to break down naturally, and during that process, they create anaerobic pockets that smell bad and breed fungus gnats. If you want to turn leaves into usable soil amendment in a timeline that matters, you need to accelerate the decomposition. You need to create the conditions fungi need to thrive. This is the leaf mold method, and it is the easiest composting system you will ever use. There is no turning, no temperature monitoring, no nitrogen balancing. You just pile up shredded leaves, keep them damp, and wait. In 6 to 12 months, you will have pure black humus that transforms potting soil. First, collect the right leaves. Oak and maple are best because they are thin and break down into fine humus. Avoid waxy leaves like magnolia. Collect brown, fully dropped leaves in fall You need at least 10 bags to make a worthwhile pile. Shredding is critical. A whole leaf has a waxy coating that resists decomposition. Run your mower over the leaves twice. You want confetti-sized pieces that create millions of entry points for fungi. This cuts decomposition time from 2 years to 6 months. Find a shaded spot, no bin needed, just an undisturbed corner. Shade is critical because direct sun dries out the pile and kills the fungi. Layer shredded leaves 12 inches deep, wet them like a wrung-out sponge, then repeat until the pile is 3 feet tall. Then walk away. Do not turn it, do not add nitrogen, do not check it every week. Check moisture monthly. If dry, spray lightly with the hose. If soaking wet, pull back the top to let it dry slightly. Fungi need stability. For the first 3 months, fungal hyphae spread invisibly through the pile, colonizing every shred. You might see white, fuzzy patches on the surface. That is mycelium, exactly what you want. Do not disturb it. By month 4, the pile shrinks as cell walls collapse. The color darkens from brown to chocolate, and the smell changes to earthy sweetness like the forest floor after rain. By month 6 to 8, it is done. Reach in and pull out a handful. It should be dark, almost black, and crumble easily but hold together when squeezed. Screen the finished leaf mold through 1/4-inch hardware cloth. Fine material falls through. Large pieces that have not fully broken down go back on the pile for another few months. Mix 1 part screened leaf mold to 3 parts old potting soil. This ratio gives you structure and water retention without sacrificing drainage. The texture changes immediately. The soil becomes fluffy, holds shape without clumping, and when you repot into this mix, you rebuild the root environment with air pockets and moisture retention. This is the moment where most people make a critical mistake. They see how well the refreshed soil works, and they think more is better. They start adding leaf mold to every pot, even young plants in fresh soil. That is how you create problems. Fresh bagged soil does not need leaf mold because it already has structure. Only add leaf mold to soil that has broken down and compacted. You also need to understand that leaf mold is not fertilizer. It does not add significant nitrogen or phosphorus. It adds structure and moisture retention, so you still need to feed your plants with compost tea or slow-release organic fertilizer. Leaf mold is a soil conditioner, not a nutrient source. And here is the deeper truth. If your potting soil has gone completely hydrophobic and hard as a rock, leaf mold alone will not fix it. You need to repot in at least 50% fresh soil, then add leaf mold to that mix. You are rebuilding the foundation, not just patching the cracks. The best time to start a leaf mold pile is November. That is when leaves have fully dropped and the weather is cool and damp. If you start in fall, it will be ready by the following spring or summer, just in time for repotting season. But if you miss the fall window, you can still collect bagged leaves from neighbors who are throwing them away. People will literally leave bags of shredded leaves on the curb for trash pickup. Those bags are gold. Take them home, dump them in a shaded pile, wet them down, and wait. Finally, understand what is happening at the microscopic level. When you make leaf mold, you are cultivating saprophytic fungi, the same organisms that build healthy forest soil. When you add that fungal-rich humus to your potting mix, you are inoculating your plants with beneficial organisms. Those fungi form symbiotic relationships with roots, extending their reach and helping them absorb nutrients. There is a quiet satisfaction that comes with this system. When you master turning garbage into soil, you stop being dependent on the garden center. You stop buying bag after bag of potting mix that breaks down in 6 months. You know exactly what is in your soil because you made it yourself. For me, the real payoff is walking past a plant I repotted a year ago. The soil is still fluffy, the plant is thriving. I remember when I used to throw away compacted soil and start over every spring. I did not save my soil with expensive amendments. I saved it with leaves and patience. If this feels overwhelming, do not try to make 100 gallons of leaf mold on your first attempt. Start small, collect 10 bags of leaves this fall, shred them, pile them in a corner, keep them damp, and check back in 6 months. Once you see that dark, crumbly humus for the first time, once you feel how it transforms dead potting soil into living earth, you will not need me to convince you to do it again. The soil will teach you. If this method has changed the way you think about potting soil, subscribe and share this with someone who keeps buying fresh soil every year. We are building a community that understands soil is not a product, it is a living system. And living systems can be rebuilt, not just replaced.